Om Namo Bhagavate Tato Jayamudire for reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam. Very good.
One should offer respectful obeisances to the Son of the Godhead Narayana, and to Brahmanarayan Rishi, the supremest human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Shri Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Pratamasloke Bhakti Naistiki by rendering of service to pure devotees. All that is troublesome to the heart is completely destroyed. A loving service to the personality of Godhead is praised with transcendental songs, is established as a given fact. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the flashlight of knowledge. I offer my respect to obeisances.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for gathering here and allowing me to serve the Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Samangwanam, Chapter 12, the killing of demon Aghasura. And we'll be reading from verses 1 to 12. So if everyone has it on their phone, we can go one down. We're not a lot of people, so we can read the translation of every verse.
Who's this?
Yes, anyone want to start?
10, 12, 1, right? Just to check.
Yeah, 10, 12, 1.
Okay. Sukdev Goswami continued, O king, one day Krishna decided to take his breakfast as a picnic in the forest. Having risen early in the morning, he blew his bulge made of horn and woke all the cowherd boys and calves with its beautiful sound. Then Krishna and the boys, keeping their respective groups of calves before them, proceeded from Rajabhumi to the forest.
So who do you want to? Subhadra, who you have access? Anyone else who has access? Yeah.
At that time, hundreds and thousands of cowherd boys came out of their respective homes in Rajabhumi and joined Krishna, keeping before them their hundreds and thousands of group of calves. The boys were very beautiful, and they were equipped with lunch bags, bugles, flutes, and sticks for controlling the crowds.
Do we have access?
We can also take one book.
Oh yeah, you can.
Where we?
Text 3.
Along with the cow-herded boys and their own group of calves, Krishna came out with an ultimate number of calves assembled. Then all the boys began to sport in the forest in the greatly playful spirit.
Text 4.
Although all these boys were already decorated by their mothers with ornaments of kacha, gunja, pearls, and gold, when they went into the forest, they further decorated themselves with fruits, green leaves, bunches of flowers, peacock feathers, and soft minerals.
Next slide.
Right?
All the cowherd boys used to steal one another's lunch bags. When the boy came in to understand that his bag had been taken away, the other boys would throw it farther away to a more distant place, and those standing there would throw it still farther. When the proprietor of the bag became disappointed, proprietor of the bag became disappointed, the other boys would laugh. The proprietor would cry, and then the bag would be returned.
Text 6.
Sometimes Krishna would go to a somewhat distant place to see the beauty of the forest. Then all the other boys would run to accompany him, each one saying, I shall be the first to run and touch Krishna. I shall touch Krishna first. In this way they enjoyed life by repeatedly touching Krishna.
All the boys would be differently engaged. Some boys blew their flutes and others blew bugles made of horn. Some imitated the buzzing of the bumblebees and others imitated the voice of the cuckoo. Some boys imitated flying birds by running after the birds' shadows on the ground, and some imitated the beautiful movements and attractive postures of the fawns. Some sat down with the ducks, sitting silently, and others imitated the dancing of the peacocks. Some boys attracted young monkeys in the trees. Some jumped into the trees, imitating the monkeys. Some made faces as the monkeys were accustomed to do, and others jumped from one branch to another. Some boys went to the waterfalls and crossed over the river, jumping with the frogs, and when they saw their own reflections on the water, they would laugh. They would also condemn the sounds of their own echoes. In this way, all the cowherd boys used to play with Krishna, who is the source of brown effulgence for Gyanis, desiring to merge into that effulgence, who is the supreme personality of Godhead for devotees who have accepted eternal servitorship, and who, for ordinary persons, is but on another ordinary child. The cowherd boys, having accumulated the results of past activities for many lives, were able to associate in this way with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can one explain their great fortune?
Very well. Now we are focusing on text 5. Okay.
So that's, can you just
10, 12, 5.
Srimad Bhagavatam?
Yeah, Srimad Bhagavatam, 10, chapter 10, text, chapter 12, text 5. We are now focusing, okay, we'll be reciting the verse now. Mushnanto nyonya shikyadin
Mushnanto Nyoshikyadin
Jnata narata chakshipu
Jnata Chakshipu
Tatratyascha punardura
Tatratyascha punardura
Dasantascha punardaduhu
Dasantascha punardadu
And again recite it if you want. Mushnanto nyonya shikyadin
Mushnanto Nyoshikyadin
Jnata narata chakshipu
Jnata Chakshipu
Tatratyascha punardura
Tatratyascha punardura
Dasantascha punardaduhu
Dasantascha punardadu
You can take 119.
Mushnanto nyona shikhade.
Mushnanto Nyoshikyadin
Janantana Atyacha Shipadu
Jnata Chakshipu
तत्रातस्य च पुनर्दुरा
Tatratyascha punardura
Dasantascha punardadu
Dasantascha punardadu
Mushnanto nyonya shikyadin
Mushnanto Nyoshikyadin
Natan Araksha Chikshipu.
Chakshipu
Tatratascha punardura.
Tatratyascha punardura Dasantascha punardadu
Synonyms together, please.
Mushnanta stealing Ananya
From one another.
Shikyadin
Thus life from other belongings.
Nata
Having been understood by the proprietor of the land. Araksha, to understood in place.
Chikshipu
Three-way. Tatratascha, those who are in that place also. Punardura, then again flew farther away. Hasantascha punardadu. When they saw the proprietor, the three-way flew farther away, and were laughing. And when the honors of his bride, his bride was given to him again.
Translation altogether again.
All the cowherd boys used to steal one another's wives. When a boy came to understand that his bride had been taken away, the other boys would throw it farther away, to a more distant place, and those standing there
would throw it still further. When the proprietor of the bag became disappointed, the other boys would laugh. The proprietor would crack, and the bag would be returned.
Very good. Purport by Sivan Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada. This kind of playing and stealing among boys still exists even in the material world, because this kind of sporting pleasure is present in the spiritual world, from which this idea of enjoyment emanates. Janmadiyasya Yata Vedanta Sutra 112, this is also mentioned in 112 of Bhagavatam. This same enjoyment is displayed by Krishna and his associates in the spiritual world, but the enjoyment is eternal, whereas here on the material platform it is temporary. There the enjoyment is Brahman, whereas here the enjoyment is Jada. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant to train one how to transfer oneself from the Jada to the Brahman, because human life is meant for this purpose. Athato Brahma Jignasa. Krishna comes down to teach us how we can enjoy with him on the spiritual platform, in the spiritual world. Not only does he come, but he personally displays his pastimes in Vrindavan and attracts people to spiritual enjoyment. Om Kyanati Nandasya Namah Shivaya Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauramani Prachare Nirvishesha Shrimati Shastri Prachare. Yeah, very good. I'd like to take the I'd like to request blessings of Srila Prabhupada and His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, who's currently downstairs, but we're close to his residence here, so we are receiving his blessings and mercy. And start off this verse. It's a very beautiful, fun verse because it reminds, our ashram reminds me of Krishna. So it's very sweet and funny in a way that here we see, so of course, the killing of Bhakasura has happened and now we are at this very beautiful pastime here. Before we come to this verse itself, I would like to go back into a few verses, which is text 3 and text 4, and just talk about those as well. So what is happening here? Krishna has come along with the beautiful cowherd boys, all of 5-6-year-old boys, who 5-6-year-old children, boys are usually very playful and they want to run around everywhere. So now they've been given this entire ordeal to take care of a group of calves. And soon later on he will also come to take care of cows. And when does that happen? Does anyone know? What is that festival called? When Krishna is given the responsibility of
Gopashtami.
Yeah, Gopashtami. And that happened like a few months ago. And so Krishna of course had not only unlimited cows but unlimited calves. Imagine these cute. We had one calf come here last Sunday, right? If anyone was here for Sunday feast. And it was such a beautiful one calf, had around 15 people around it. So imagine unlimited number of calves and you get to play with them. That is like wonderland. That is a dream for a lot of people here. And all the boys, began to, go into the forest and, of course, they were taking these calves to, for their usual, the usual walk and their usual incursion into the forest. And after that, before going, but of course, such beautiful children have to be dressed like how we dress Gopinath here. And that's how the mothers in such a beautiful mood were dressing their children up. And this is mentioned in text 4, where these boys were decorated by their mothers with ornaments of kacha. So now what is kacha? And gunja pearls and gold. And kacha is, have you ever seen Gopinath with these small leaves that are there sometimes, on his crown? Or maybe we see it here on this photo, maybe here, right? You see those leaves there? Those kind of leaves. These are some small, beautiful looking leaves, sometimes you may find. So Mother Yashoda would pick them up and, she would put it on his crown. And then gunja flowers. Now this is a very, very beautiful flower. Gunja is a red, yellow and blackish flower. And it's very primitive to Brajabhumi. You find it primarily in that area. And it's a beautiful flower and these boys, and they would love these flowers. And of course, but the mother would want them to not only use flowers and leaves, but she would also want them to use the best of jewelry, so there are pearls and gold, and there were these tinkling bells on the side that she would put so that when they would go, not only the cows were tinkling, but they were also tinkling, because not only these cows were young, but these boys were also young. They are all these young, small boys who are of course, they have to be taken care of as well, right? Because these are kids, they are going out on their own. Brajabhumi is beautiful, but now there's demons like Aghasura, this Putana, who have already come and given Krishna, this, and Kamsa has already warned, people of Braja that, whoever finds Krishna for me, come and get him. So, people are already behind Krishna. So, so Mother Yashoda wants to make sure that he's careful. And also, so that's why she uses this different, but she of course wants to do her best, in her service. That's what Mother Yashoda is. She doesn't want to leave a single detail. The service attitude that Mother Yashoda has, I don't think any, and of course Srimati Radharani and the Gopis have, no one else has that service attitude because they want to be the best at it. Another thing about the kunja flowers, it's a very beautiful flowers if you want to search it up and if you can also see it. So there are 3 colors, which are the red color, the black color, and a goldenish yellow color. Now these 3 colors also represent one person. Does anyone know who's that? Close. Yes, yes.
Yeah, what are you going to say?
So the kunja flower is made up of three colors: red, black, and goldenish yellow. Who does that represent? Also goldenish yellow.
Mahaprabhu.
Mahaprabhu as well. But in this
Radharani?
Radharani, yes. So it's very interesting. But now this flower is a mix. Of course, Radharani is the yellowish color. And who's black?
Krishna.
And what is red? Red is the eternal love that they have between each other. That's why Krishna loves this kunja flower, because it reminds him of that eternal love. You know, that anurag that he has just for Srimati Radharani. When Krishna lifts his flute, he will only lift it for Srimati Radharani. I mean, of course, others also listening and others also mesmerized. But when Krishna is lifting up his flute, he is only doing it for Srimati Radharani. And when Srimati Radharani is lifting up her hand for any service, it's only for Krishna. So that's what these kunja flowers represent. And of course, there were other green leaves and bunches. As you see how we decorate Gopinath, almost similar. You know, Mother Satyasana was the best at it, and she knows how the mood, and that was like exactly replicates this in our way of Gopinath down here. So now how do they paint their faces? You know, they use these. There are minerals and rocks found in Vraja, it's indigenously found there. So they would crush those beautiful minerals and make red color or green color out of it and then use it. And of course, Mother Yashoda would not only decorate Krishna, but after they went out and they were outside, they sometimes found these jewelry is really heavy, because how will these kids run in this jewelry? Often you see, right, when there are these kids who sometimes they're made to wear gold chain, earrings or something. They would, I don't want to wear this. It's too itchy or too this. So they would remove that and keep it aside, and then they would make their own garlands and they would make their own jewelry out of these natural flowers, because they are not only light, but they are also very good looking. Like gunja, if you crush it, then there's a red thing that comes out, and if you then the minerals, if you crush them, then green, yellow, purple, these colors come out. And they would use the leaves and the patterns at the back, and they would make like a tattoo. Have you seen this kids? As kids, you would have this tattoo, and then you would do that. So they had their natural tattoo, the green color leaf and the imprint. It looks very beautiful, the imprints of leaves, right? Banyan leaves or ferns sometimes that are there, and you just use that and color it, color yourself. It just looks beautiful if you see it. So it looks almost like a tattoo. So they would do that, and of course the most important one of all is the peacock feathers, right? And peacocks, and it's not like how they do today, where they just go and harmfully take it from the peacock, or they did not pay for it. The peacocks themselves would come and they would leave all most of their peacock feathers and go for Krishna. And Krishna, he being so reciprocative to his peacock devotees, he would pick it up from the ground and he would wear it on his head, keeping his devotee on his head. So that is Krishna's mercy. That even, the simplest of things that we offer, and the feather of the peacock is the most beautiful thing of peacock, right? Because the peahen does not have that, unfortunately does not have that honor of having that beautiful kind of, the feathers. But the peacock has that. And that's the only most distinguishing qualities. Of course, the color is also one thing. But the feather is, everyone is behind the feather. And that is what, so the peacock comes and leaves that most important thing, almost like his heart towards Krishna. And Krishna picks up that heart and keeps it on his head, on his crown. That shows that Krishna, what is the most important thing for Krishna here is not anything else, not you dancing. I mean, of course, dancing for him is important, that's your reciprocation of love. But when you just provide your heart and keep it in front of Krishna, he'll pick it up and keep it on his head. Like how we keep Krishna's lotus feet on his head, he keeps our heart on his head. So that is Krishna's beautiful pastimes. And of course, Krishna, this entire Rajabhumi is just so beautiful in its own ways. It is well equipped enough to provide everything for everyone in that point of time, of course. Now it's much different, but at that point of time, everything, from good water from Yamuna, of course now Yamuna is in a very difficult state right now, but everything was available. The Govardhan Hill was providing the fruits, vegetables, minerals, and a lot of herbs, medicines that was available, and everything was available in this Rajbhumi, especially in the soil. That's why we were discussing the previous pastime when Krishna ate the mud, right? He ate mud, and Nandesha said, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You don't eat that mud." And when he opened his mouth, what did he see? Universe, right? And he saw and Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he describes this as Pancha Shatakoti Yojana. Krishna saw Pancha Shatakoti, that means 50 crore yojanas. One yojana is 8 miles, or you can convert it into kilometers and see, I think mostly 10 kilometers or so. Or less, I'm not so sure. But, and that multiplied by 50 crore was the amount of depth that Mother Yashoda saw within him. And of course, she saw the millions of Brahmas, the millions of different demigods that were there in each universe, and one person in that each universe, she saw everything. But how did she see that? Because Krishna ate the soil of Rajbhumi. Right? The soil of, not only Krishna, of course, it has that potency, but the soil of Rajbhumi has that potency, it's just like garnish, to show the importance of the Lord and to show and, to show Krishna who he is, of course. But Rajbhumi also has this very, very, very important aspect. It houses who? Yogamaya. And Yogamaya is very good in making sure that they forget it also, that who he is. They forget that aspect, that Krishna is not God. Despite of Krishna trying to show his opulence, it's like almost like a seesaw. As children, I would play violently with my brother. But it's not like that, it's like almost like up and down, like waves in the lake, where sometimes you may see Krishna as God, sometimes people will come and put logic into the pastimes, but soon Yogamaya brings that down. Like how, of course, and the opposite of that is Mahamaya, who works here to bring us down in our Krishna consciousness. But there, Yogamaya's aspect is to make sure that Krishna and the pastimes take place and are not hindered in any way. And the relationship between each and every devotee and the relationship is maintained in the same form. And of course, like how and to accommodate to accommodate the pastimes, Dham itself can expand, time can stop in Dham, things can come up from anywhere. That is what the Dham is, And Srila Radhagovinda Maharaj says that he quoted Srila Jiva Goswami saying, Aghatana Ghatana Ahiyasi Shakti. This is the potency of the Dham. The Dham could expand itself to accommodate everything, and it could also reduce itself to bring people together. Where there are pastimes like for example this pastime, where there are millions of cows, the Dham is expanding itself to get millions and millions of cows. But also there's a point of time where the Dham is reducing itself during the Govardhan, lifting of the Govardhan, where all the Brajvasis are coming together tightly under the Govardhan. So this is what the Dham is, it can expand, and Krishna's associate can expand and Krishna's associate can reduce. Just like how we see in Gauri Leela, where Mahaprabhu was very angry on Chandkazi and he was marching to his house with Kirtan, and there were millions and millions of people, some even were swimming through the Ganga and coming just to come to Chandkazi's house to protest against him. And of course, that's how Chandkazi was very he was hiding like a rat inside his house, because there were so many people who were coming with Mahaprabhu. In the same way, the cows are also, of course, this is a much more non-scary sight, but it's a more beautiful sight where Krishna is going around with his cows. And there's a very famous poet from Raj, Rasa Khan. I don't know if you have heard about him. Rasa Khan, a lot of our authors, a lot of our acharyas also quote him. Where Rasa Khan actually prays to Krishna and Krishnamurti Radharani that many of our acharyas want to become a part of the gopis pastimes, or Manjari's pastimes, or their mood is that of so. But Rasa Khan here he prays that make me a calf amongst amongst the cowherd boys, or make me a cowherd boy, not a cowherd boy also. I want to be a calf, where you can kick me around, you can play with me. I want Krishna to play with me, like how you played and try to run around with me, and I want to lick Krishna. I want to be close to him, and feel the love of Krishna. And this Khan prays about that. And of course, this is what the identities are different, of course. But our mood, of course, comes to the same thing as to serving Krishna in different ways, in different forms, in different pastimes. And this is one example of how that, of course, our moods may differ in different ways, but our entire movement, of course, is coming together. Our lineage is coming together to serve Krishna in different forms, by either being a plant or being a calf, or even being as big as the Manjari or not Gopi, Manjari, or the Marjanis and different individuals. And this is what, and of course our heart is always in Vrindavan because of that, right? Because of our mood, right? Our mood is Vrindavan, therefore our heart also has to be Vrindavan. If our mood is, that's why, and if our heart is not in Vrindavan, then our mood will not be Vrindavan. The cow there, yes. So the cow is also watching us. So if our heart is not in Vrindavan, our mood is not in Vrindavan. And if our mood is not in Vrindavan, our mood is not of serving Krishna at that moment. Our mood is of serving, if we are serving Krishna out of the Vrindavan mood, then we are serving someone else. We are serving that impersonal Brahman or that king of Dwarka who was living there with 16,000 wives. But our goal is to serve Krishna as a Vrajabalaka or as a Nandagopa who's sitting there in Vrindavan and running around with the cowherd boys and playing with them. Another thing I remember from the cows, the cows. So very it's Krishna's Kailash Goswami. So he talks about this Krishna's sorry not cows, the peacocks. Another point about the peacocks was that Krishna's Kailash Goswami talks about this in a very witty Sanskrit grammar technique. So it's almost like a rhyme. He's a Sanskrit genius. Most of our acharyas are. And in fact, I've seen a book in Amala's room, which was about Sanskrit poetry and different analogies and poetries where every word starts. It's like there's a literary technique in English called alliteration, if you all know, where it starts K K K K P P P P. So here, when the peacocks when they call out, what is the sound? Anyone who knows how to do the sound? Yes. So it's like or yes, yes. So it's like so Krishna Chakravarti Thakur even he imitates that sound of the peacocks and he's like kahuka, and this is in Sanskrit where he's like.
Mark said he'll get scared if somebody comes as a peacock.
So, but and then he uses that same language and terminology in terms of this and creates a sound of the peacock and he says kahuka, where is Krishna? And kahuke, where is Srimati Radharani? That's how the peacocks and call out for Krishna and Srimati Radharani in their voice. I remember there was a Guru, I forgot the name proper disciple. I was listening to Vrindavan. The pastimes in Vrindavan, for ISKCON Vrindavan's pastimes, when Prabhupada was setting up Krishna Balaram temple. And when the deities of Radha Shyam Sundar, Krishna Balaram and Gaur Gita and Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati were coming from Jaipur and they landed in Mathura station and they were coming to Vrindavan. It was like around this time, around sunrise time. And the peacocks started, doing the same thing. Everywhere, it was like an echo. I get goosebumps when I say this. Like echo when these deities were entering inside Vrindavan to be installed in the Krishna Mandir. So this is the beauty of peacocks, right? They are almost like the conch shell that we have here, and they call out for Krishna and Srimati Radharani. And of course, the rest of Raj is the same, right? It connects. The Raj Dham is just. It is no dham as good as that. It can eclipse thousands of holy places. And there's no place and can give thousands of benefits, more benefit than drinking the milk of the Kamdhenu cow. It can help us in a lot of different ways. Even Lord Shiva, who's this Jakadhari in this bhasma, he's all covered with ashes, living in the graveyard, in the Shamsan Bhumi, the burning area. He also, comes in the form of Gopeshwar Mahadev to experience the pastimes of Krishna. And some of our acharyas, for example, Krishna Chakravarti Thakur says that under the bhasma, the ashes of Shiva, there's always dust of Raja that he has put himself inside, like he's bathed himself inside. And this is coming. This actually quotation is from, if you look at the verses of in which Rukmini is writing letters to Krishna. In that verses, in the second last verse, which I think is, I'm not so sure if I remember the words, but I think I have it here. Yasyam Giri Pankachiraj Snapanam Mahanto Vanchanti Umapatir Yavatmatam Upahadari Yahe Amujakshana Labhye Bhavat Prasaram Yahayam Asundratapshanam Satajambihi Shyat. All over to side one, great souls like Lord Shiva hanker to bathe in the dust of your lotus feet and thereby destroy their ignorance. If I cannot obtain your mercy, I shall simply give up my vital force, which will have become weak from the severe penances I will perform. Then after hundreds of lifetimes of endeavor, I may obtain your mercy. So even Lord Shiva, who was kind of huge personality, when he entered into the pastimes of the rasa pastimes, Vrinda, he was like, who is this Gopi, this muscular personality is coming with, fertile like Gopi dress and I said, what's going on here? But Lord Shiva is no less, under his ashes, under the swarup that he has of being this very vigorous one, then Nataraj person, he has the rest of Raja also on him. So that is the beautiful pastimes of the rest of Raja. Now coming back to our main pastime, which is the stealing and kicking and throwing of it away. So imagine this, where you are sitting and you're watching this, where Krishna and now Krishna has done all of this, they have now got out to the explosion, now it's on the break time. Like how Subhadra too wanted to take prashadam, they also want to take prashadam. So in their break time. So now they're sitting here and they what they have done is now they have hidden a lunchbox. They have hidden a lunch bag of the most innocent guy, which is almost me, because in every group I'm the most innocent person, and they have hidden, because they know if you do something to that person will definitely cry, and will definitely it's very fun in trouble with that person. So either it is Madhumangal who wants to they always hide the lunch boxes, and and sometimes they also hide the stick, which for the cows, or the bugle, or the flutes, and then they put it in someone else's bag, and then they go and blame the person. No, you stole my flute. You did this, And then the other person, no, I didn't do this. Who did this, And then they go running around each other. And Krishna would do that intentionally, so that has to make everyone run around, and laugh and play. But now, one thing about these pastimes, if we put them into a material perspective, we may not be able to understand it. Because for many people, this may sound like bullying. Like, how are you bullying these people? Right? But, and of course, this has very dull, or jada, Prabhupada calls this jada, consequences, right? It has very jada consequences. But there it's not like that. Everyone is just enjoying the pastimes, Everyone is trying to love each other, trying to understand each other, and trying to just have fun with each other. And of course, that is going away from this world, right? We cannot either crack jokes now, or you will get arrested, or you cannot, do certain things, or you can't say certain, or you cannot have fun with your friends. Everyone's getting very serious because everyone's taking things seriously. The Lord Himself is teaching us, of course, there are things that are important that you take seriously, but there are sometimes that you have fun with your friends as well, where you steal their lunch boxes and keep it somewhere else, and you annoy them with different things, and then you laugh loudly, and when you close your eyes and laugh. Like, imagine these rich boys. Imagine that Gopinath just getting out of there with the cows and laughing. He's stealing the kheer and laughing, with the kheer pot, and that's how these pastimes were. They're very beautiful. They get us back to that. They bring us again to that same mood of innocence, which most of us have lost. Right? Innocence is something that we unfortunately lose, and now people have started losing it at an early age because of access to unwanted information. Right? And if that innocence is not, and that's very important for us to maintain that innocence in Krishna consciousness. If you ask a lot of Grihastha devotees, the only thing they want to do is that keep their children away from the mobiles and cell phones and everything. Last time I remember I had seen one of the children here, and he was holding this CD DVD player, and he was listening to music. Something I had never seen in my lifetime, and he was holding it. Must be from the 90s. His parents must have had it here. And I was like, I'm listening to Kirtan. My Baba does not allow me to use this. So I was like, oh wow, interesting. And I'm like, that's so good, because otherwise, that same portal, that same thing, has access to so many other relevant aspects, that loses the kids' innocence. Right? So that is very important. And of course, we are relating these pastimes to our own scenarios or childhood. But the entire point of Srimad Bhagavatam is to not relate these pastimes to ourselves. It is for us to relate to Krishna. That, for example, now